Karibuni mazee, karibuni hapa kwenye Miti ni Dawa show. Hapa yes, leo tuko na bonge la show. Boys wangu KingMan, Bredren, everything. Daktari, ako inadi. Na hapa to waste time, tuna get right into it. Kando yangu hapa hivi mazee nimekaa with my bredren.
Man,
my bredren.
I tell my precious.
Nilikuwa nenda nisome jina yako lakini nitakupea hiyo opportunity.
Sawa, jina. Majina kamili. Varees Lukyamuzi. Yeah, man.
Hiyo jina tayari ni unique.
Ni unique.
Ukiambia watu warudie wanashindwa. Utawasaidia ama tusonge kubwa kubwa?
Utawasaidia Varees Lukyamuzi tukisonga.
Varees mazee, tukipatana tulipatana juu ya ile work tunapiga saa hizi. Back then mazee niliget pleasure ya kukumit through unajua partner wetu hapo King Kabi. Na relationship naye ikawa bless na imeendelea kugrow.
Man.
Mazee nashukuru sana venye umekubali kukam na kubonga.
Mimi nakwambia when I received the call, mbiu ya mgambo ikilia kuna jambo.
Na ninashukuru sana King.
So but I think also it's been a long time coming.
Yeah man.
It's been a long time coming. It actually it feels like it's full circle sasa.
Yeah.
Because we met tukiwa stages discovery foundations and then sasa tuko this stage yangu sasa ni actualization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kabisa.
Actualizing the knowledge.
Yes sir.
Knowledge to practice. Sasa you actualize.
Kabisa. And that is the whole point here show.
Yeah.
Jina ya show ni Miti ni Dawa.
Miti ni Dawa. Chini ya miti.
Chini ya miti kama kawa. Lazima ikuwe out in nature. Na tunaangalia food as medicine and medicine as food.
Hiyo ndio foundation ya medicine class.
Aha. Kwa wenye hawajui. Mbona umepoint out medicine class? Tayari. Wase wa associate mitishamba na medicine. Kwa nini?
Because sasa tumesahau roots. Tumesahau roots information. When you understand, okay, so what is the basis of medicine? What is the foundational basis of medicine? Ni nini unafundishwa kwa medicine? What are we trying to achieve with medicine? Alafu sasa ukielewa. Hii knowledge tuko nayo ilitoka mahali.
Yeah.
Si ndio?
Yeah.
And mahali ilitoka, we have to also respect and hold it with the value that it had. And because ni hiyo process ndio imetuleta hapa. So huwezi sema unajua hii kitu bila kujua pale.
Kweli.
Na the very foundation of medicine is natural medicine.
Kweli. Na napenda venye kick off mazee na story ya going back to the roots.
Back to the roots.
Unajua, as we go back to the roots, tuanze na roots zako. Unajua,
yes.
If you can trace back your first influence that has now led to who you are today, how far back would you trace your roots? And how has that experience been along the journey?
I would trace it back to when I remember my very first encounter with nature. Let me just say nature. My very first experience with nature was my grandfather. Uganda tunawaita Jaja wange. So I remember alinishika mkono one day and he was like, let's go, let's take a walk. And so I came to know when I was going back into my roots, I came to realize my great grandfather was a natural medicine man. Yeye ndiye alikuwa the village. Tumbo inauma. Enda kwa nani's homestead, he will give you something, you know. So I can trace my roots back then.
Yeah.
But then with education and everything else and how we're influenced with other things in life, I never took it seriously. But also because we've also lost the traditional way of teaching, which is apprenticeship. You know, so if that information is not apprenticed, then nobody sees the value of having it. And when we want people to look for it, people will always look for other ways of getting it. So uko ndio roots zilianza.
Gukako.
Guka.
as Jaja alikuwa na kufunza hizi vitu, did you even think that in the future as you grew up utakuwa unazipractice ka venye alikuwa anazipractice?
Weya. In fact, one of my relatives alinipigia simu ananiambia, bro, me heard that you're doing this in Kenya. I was like, yeah. Walai. Wewe, of all people. I know, man.
Na mbona alishtuka?
Alishtuka because it didn't look. I wasn't the kind who would look like taking that direction.
Yeah. Jicho ilifunguka lini?
Jicho sasa ilifunguka when I was, so the time I was playing professional football. And I was really into fitness because I wanted to be a professional footballer. So I was really taking steps of like, lazima nifanye hii, lazima I need to eat well, I need to. So in that process of eating well, I was like, but ziko na knowledge kidogo najua. And then once in a while, you umekaa mahali, then you see your friend ako na homa. Muza bro, hiyo homa yako umekaa nayo sana. Kwani nimekunywa flugo na yendi. Nimekunywa, namwambia bro kuna kitu nita chamomile. Umejaribu. I was like, chamomile, unajua kimix chamomile na a little bit of ginger na lime. Hii story itakuwa gone case. Jamani wewe wacha wewe, you know. But then when he goes and actually tries it, then he comes and akwambia, bro, kwani
Weni mganga.
Kwani wewe tena? What's going on? Yeah, so slowly, you know, guys are like, ukiwa na shida, you know, you can just call Varees. Actually, that's where the name Varees came from.
Is that so?
Najua mjui jina. So Varees came as, because guys are like, that guy has various solutions. He always has a solution. So that's hapo ndo jina Varees ilitoka. Varees. Ukitaka kitu Varees.
Uliza Varees.
Uliza Varees. Hata kama ajui, he'll point you to the direction.
Na polepole ndo hizo unajipata una get referrals.
Exactly.
Na si kazi unafanya. Unaongea na best yako na unamsaidia. Little did you know.
Little did I know I'll be here.
You're doing now what your grandfather did.
Bro.
You're sending them to pick that herb, mix it there, and drink it.
Yeah.
Prescription, as you would say it. In the medical
modern medical world.
Yeah.
But also, hata tukiwa kwa hii point ya actualization, also getting into my spiritual journey made me realize a lot of things. One is there's power in a name. So my second name, Lukyamuzi, actually means healer. And sasa, you know, me growing up, I never really bothered. You just know I'm called this. I'm called Varees Lukyamuzi. But you never really want to know what do these names mean.
Yeah.
So when I started my spiritual journey and I really wanted to know, I was like, okay, I've grown up to believe this. I've grown up to believe this because we're being taught in school and this. That is good. This is information based on someone else's opinion.
Yeah.
What is they take with my opinion? So what do I believe in? Not what I've been told to believe in.
Yeah.
What do I believe in? You know. So when I went to that journey, I went back into the roots of understanding what does my name mean? Where do I come from? Which people do I represent? Yeah.
You know, now that you actually touched on the power of your name, the power of a name, and particularly your name, just to digress a little, what's the naming system that is used in your community?
In the Baganda.
In the Baganda
so
community.
my community is the Baganda community.
Yeah.
I feel like my parents named me differently because essentially a child would be named from it's the African way, the father.
Yeah.
But in our instance, my mom was the one who named us.
Yeah. And you see that wisdom, that's actually why I wanted to digress to it, is because that wisdom that she had at that time has guided you
till today.
Still
guiding me till today.
And is still guiding you.
every day, when as we live life, as I live my life, I'm realizing, I'm like, okay, every day you get to understand, oh, so this is my purpose today. This is my purpose today. This is my purpose today. But also, just the fact that I now walk with the heaviness of my ancestors because I know who they are. So I know what I represent.
Yeah.
So I'm not even afraid of anything or anyone. Because I know this is what I represent. So if anyone who I'm trying to collaborate with, or anyone who I'm having a conversation with, when I'm like, this one does not go with what I represent, it's easy to cut it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those who lack the privilege of knowing where they come from, do you think that is a hindrance for them in trying to trace back who they are, in understanding who they are as individuals?
I would say yes. I would say understanding who you are gives you a great push in understanding where you're going. Yeah. I'll give you a simple analogy. When we want to plant something, right? Let's say we want to plant kale. Sindio. We know the end product that is kale, right? And because we know the end product that is kale and we've been able to trace back to its seeds, now we know the process of planting. I know that if I go and I water this section of my garden, and if I put fertilizer, and that's the simple way of planting kale, right? But then now if you want better kale, if you want a better version of kale, the simple way is you just find a place, make sure it has no weeds, you plant it, it grows, as long as you water it. But now when you really want an enriched version of kale, that means you also have to understand the soil.
Yeah.
So you have to go into the dynamics of how is this soil? Do I need to understand the biology of the soil? Do I need to understand, does it have enough nitrogen? Is nitrogen part of the component that makes up kale? Do I need to add? If it's fertilizer, which fertilizer am I getting? That greatly enriches the output, which is now the kale.
Yeah.
And also even for us as humans, when you really understand the foundation of where you come from, you even understand how you think. You understand, oh, so this is why I do this. Because that's how I've been raised. This is how I think like this. So it's actually not easy for you to be influenced by outside distractions.
Yeah.
Because this is a distraction. This is not what I stand for.
Very beautifully put.
Manze.
Jumping right back to the conversation.
Back into it.
I have the luxury of knowing you personally.
Man.
And when you talk about indigenous plants, and plants being used as medicine, and medicine being used as food. You also have the scientific background of having studied medicine.
I tell you.
How did you get into studying medicine to begin with?
So, I used to play football. And through football, I was able to get scholarships through football.
Yeah. So
my medical journey actually, I was a very joking student in school. I would joke a lot. I was a joker, I would tell you, for a fact.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of it because it's made my journey more fulfilling. So when I finished high school, I just wanted to be a professional footballer. That's all I wanted. And I wanted to act, but I didn't know the direction. But football I knew, So I found myself in teams, Wazito back then were playing the University of Nairobi team. So through that, I was able to get scholarships. So my journey actually in medicine started out when I did my very first aid class. I remember it was infant first aid. Ilinibamba mbaya.
Ilikuguza mahali. Ilikuguza. Mase naona hiyo joy saizi ukiniambia nikani jana.
I was like, what? Vanange, this is what this is. Yani, you mean if I have these skills, I can save life? Wow. Okay. What is the next step? Then,
I need more.
I need more. So you progress from this.
Yeah.
Then now you do, basic first aid. Nikafanya basic. Ikazidi kunibamba. I was like, bro, hii kitu inaweza mbaya. So slowly I progressed, So I did that till I found myself at an EMT basic level, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then I always had an interest in biology and things in school, but I never paid that much. I was like, as long as I get the information, I don't need to get an A to prove that I know. I know.
You need to prove to yourself that you understand what it is that you're learning.
I know biology is the study of living things. That's what matters.
Yes.
You, if you get an A or not, may know. And so it was easy for me now to transition into the modern medicine world because it's something that foundation-wise I understood and I loved. Sasa hapo ndo tukaanza. So EMT basic and I got really good with my hands on it. In fact, I remember my lecturer, Mary Chingori. Thank you very much, by the way.
Shout out to mwalimu.
Shout out to mwalimu.
Mwanafunzi wako hapa.
She was always telling me, it's like, you're so good with your hands. And she used to say, I'm good at grasping. And she's like, I'm a very pragmatic problem solver. She's like, I would always want to look for something. I was like, so you said this is the only process, Hatuwezi jaribu hii ingine, you know, because I was that kind of doctor. I was like, I want to be the doctor who, even when there's no technology, something can be done. I was like, so when we were being taught how to use blood pressure monitors, I remember always asking Mary, I'm like, you want to tell me that this is the only way to check for blood pressure? Then she's like, no, there's actually another way. Teach me that other way. Because I don't want to be dependent on technology. So tukaanza hapo, then I did a paramedic course. And then Mary was like, do you know where you've reached with this thing? If you just do like 2 more years, you can get a medical degree.
You cultivated your own course to becoming a doctor.
She was like, you know what? You know so much. It was so interesting.
Did you take her up on it?
Bro, I was like, let's do this.
Why not?
Why not?
Why
not? Let's just do this. So I did it, and I graduated.
Congrats, hongera. Hongera.
So that's the background. And I also just wanted, because for the longest time, once I realized I niko na interest in natural medicine, I wanted to be a person who fuses ancient healing techniques with modern technology.
It's like you took it out of my mouth, because that was the next question. You know, that intersection between you have the influence from your grandfather, you're already prescribing herbal remedies to your friends on the football pitch, and then now you've gone ahead and taken the step to go and study conventional medicine. None of this is lost. But now the responsibility is on you to bring it together. Was that something that you did in a day? Is that something that you cultivated over time?
It's been a couple of years. It's even now I'm still in the process.
You're still a student.
Because I understood that the line of work I wanted to take, first of all, I needed to be someone who valued and made relationships. So I was like, I actually put everything on hold. I was like, I need to work on myself as a human to be able to understand what kind of relationships I cultivate and how to value these relationships. And so now that's where the spiritual work had to come in.
So without you actually taking the time off to understand who you are, that intersection wouldn't have happened.
It would have been quite, because I also didn't want to just become another, I just didn't want to become another part of the system. An extension of the system. I didn't want to become an extension of the system.
When you talk about the system, there's the argument that is made that you need to survive. And we have those traditional professions that are considered safer options. Of which you do have the credentials.
The qualifications.
That if you wanted to, you would be practicing it in one of the many known institutions all over the world. But you chose not to.
But I chose not to.
Some may say it's lack of wisdom or ignorance or look down upon it.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was important for you to actually understand who you are in this society and determine the way in which you want to move?
First, I needed to understand the difference between a calling and a purpose. And I couldn't understand those two words superficially.
Yeah.
You know, there's superficial, which is a literal meaning of it's just, you know, what's your calling or what is your purpose. So I needed to understand. So what is a calling? You know, if I may say, a lot of the people who are in the medical field right now, sadly, are in it because it's a purpose. You know, like you said, it's something that takes care of their needs.
It serves an end.
Yeah. So I purpose to do this. I purpose to be a doctor,
Yeah.
so that I may survive, like you said. So that if push comes to shove, I have something I'm holding on to. That yes, I'm a doctor. You know. And then there's a calling, which callings are quite amorphous. It's a very amorphous thing.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how to shape it to create the direction for yourself, because you're the one who creates the direction. Most of the time, our callings are not the same. That's why one person's calling might be the same as another person's, but their directions will always be different.
Yeah.
Because everyone forms their direction. So I really needed to understand that. And when I understood that, I realized that, oh, this line of work cannot be in that conventional space. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't, they can coexist, but not in one space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have that symbiotic relationship.
They have a parallel coexistence.
Okay.
They're all moving in the same direction, but parallel. Yeah. Because the truth is, and this is every interview that I do, I always tell people, you can't take away, we can't write off the fact that we need modern medicine.
Yeah.
We can't.
Definitely.
But also we can't write off the fact that we need traditional medicine.
They both serve two very distinct purposes.
Yeah, we can't just sit and say, okay, from today henceforth, let us do away with traditional, you know.
Yeah.
Let me tell you an interesting story. So in 2020, I was working with KEMRI, Medical Research Institute.
Yeah.
During the COVID time. And I did an interview with DWTV. Even Peter Gadara was there. There was a lot of people there. So one of the questions was about herbalists. Me, I love herbalists. Because we felt at that time, because, you know, people were giving the government ideas of how to desensitize information so that people can understand it.
Yes.
You know. And during that time, you are a witness to this. There were so many natural concoctions that were just on WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
Hey, this. Hey, this. Hey, this. So I remember being in one of the brainstorming sessions. And I remember lifting my hand and I was like, but guys, why are we writing off the fact that these herbalists are the ones who have most of the knowledge in traditional? Why are we overlooking? And then why are we not involving them in this process?
Yes.
Why are we trying so hard? And we can see this is the answer.
Yes. You're fighting them for what you need.
We are struggling here saying that, oh, people are not we can't go to the hospital.
Yes.
Because the hospital is where the danger is. Right?
Yeah.
So if these people are able to go to the streets, if these people are able to be given the right information on how they can take care of themselves and not spread the virus, but at the same time spread the knowledge they have on these herbal remedies.
Yeah.
Aren't you saying we're going to fight this war and win it? It was so interesting. And it took a while. All those policies and I don't know what. But I was just like, anyway.
Bureaucracy jumped in.
It jumped in.
To you, it's so obvious. You're wondering why are we struggling?
Like, this is the path. Why are we overlooking it?
Yeah.
Why are you afraid to just say? And it's ego, because at the end of the day, you realize that if professors say, okay, it's these herbalists who are going to direct us in this thing, then it's like their thinking is now their word will not be taken as, you know, in the same heaviness, in the same space as it would have years ago.
Yeah.
It's now people will be like, but professors are parallel to these guys. So why am I going to the hospital? Let me go.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's interesting when you put it like that, because if at all this information is out there and it is known,
man,
you're choosing to rely on it, but you're not choosing to acknowledge the sources from which you're getting this information. In itself, there is an ulterior motive. There's an ulterior motive.
Therein lies the problem.
And, it's getting to the point where we don't need to be told that there is an ulterior motive.
Yeah, we can see it.
If you see it, you choose to do something about it or not.
Yeah. Crazy.
Going back to your experience, after you were able to find where the intersection was between what we call indigenous medicine and conventional medicine, how were you then able to cultivate your own practice where now you could actually be able to hold consultations with patients and advise them on one or two things that they could do to either ease their ailment or even in itself cure where it was possible?
I mean, first of all, I also needed to be in that conventional space.
Yeah.
Because me being there made me understand also, basics of patient care, how to handle patients, how to engage with patients, how to understand, how to develop a patient history chart, and then now understanding where I was with this knowledge. Most of my consultations are always just like this also, is I ask somebody, so like how long have you been undergoing this? How long have you, what have you tried before we even, and I'm like, so they will tell me maybe they've tried this, or maybe somebody, let's say, easy example, somebody comes to you, they're like, I have a headache. I've been a persistent headache, and first of all, I make them understand what types of headaches exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always interesting when you explain to people like that, they're like, what? You mean a headache is not just a headache? And you're like, no, man, there are certain types of headaches. There's cluster headaches, there's migraine headaches, they're like 18, and every one of them manifests differently.
Yes.
And now being at a point where I realize that the practice is not about withholding information, but more about sharing information. That was the most beautiful spot I feel like I got to in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Is understanding that this knowledge I have, the more it's shared, the more people know, the more the practice grows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the way you've put it,
Yeah.
because it now drives us away from the discussion being based on
One-sided.
disease, and actually seeing how we can be able to avoid getting diseases.
Exactly. Yeah. And also just people understanding body systems. People needed to understand, who am I? What is, basics of anatomy and physiology. Explaining to people, okay, so this is your body, this is a composition of your body.
Yeah.
This is how your processes runs. This is what an altered process looks like. This is how, this is how your digestion, this is the duration which digestion should take place. So if it's shorter or longer, there's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is how this is how we look for the cause of the problem.
Yeah.
Because, the thing about it is medicine has already given us placebos. Medicine has given us placebos, and then medicine has also given us short-term solutions.
Yeah.
But short-term solutions do not necessarily mean that they are handling the cause of the problem. So
it's more preventive and less curative.
It's more preventive.
Yeah. Okay. And mitigation. Okay.
As opposed to the why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the aims of the show is also to make it possible for us to not only listen to this information,
yes,
but actually choose to make practical steps towards improving our overall health.
Yes.
And I believe for that to happen, we need to look at the kitchen.
Man. Actually, let me take it back. It's not first the kitchen, it's the garden. Yeah. Because if it's the kitchen, then, you know, if we really don't go back to the garden, then you might be cooking genetically modified food again.
You're striking a soft spot in many's hearts. But please carry on. Carry on.
So it goes back to the garden. And for me, it's not just the garden. When you go back to the garden, that means also Mother Earth, Gaia, you know. How are you taking care of the earth? Because the earth gives you the produce.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like an old adage: garbage in, garbage out. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're planting substandard seeds, don't expect to get high value yield.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 In at this present time, as we record this show,
Yeah.
being in Nairobi,
Yeah.
some would be quick to come and say, I don't even have a garden.
Yeah.
So what do you want me to do?
Man, we are living in modern times. Please.
Wache ushamba.
Wacha ushamba. Please, wacha ushamba. Kuwa na shamba. It is important. Right now there's so many techniques of farming that don't necessarily involve the what is it, basic shambas. You know, we could do. I've seen people. You see, like I've seen, they're called propped gardens.
Yeah.
Where you could get like a bucket, then you put your soil in there, then you create some holes. As long as your soil is healthy.
Yes.
Then you'll get produce. Yeah.
And that in itself, you know, is a luxury that we have.
Yeah.
Having been born and raised in the motherland.
Yeah.
We can actually say that the larger population can actually afford to go home and pick soil from forests if need be.
Yeah.
Back home where you came from or where you're most familiar with, and use that.
Yeah.
If the argument would say sisi kwetu tumepanda na kemikali, so hiyo hata ya nyumbani sio mzuri.
But also it also shows you how deep colonization struck us. You know.
Yeah.
We're living in a time right now where I will speak for East Africa because I'm East African, right? When I look into my country's history, when I look in Uganda's history, Uganda used to be dependent on Kenya for so many things, especially agriculture. Uganda was so dependent because, I mean, Uganda is landlocked, you know. So we depended on the Kenyan ports for economic sustenance. We depended on Kenya's agricultural belt, which was in the western region mostly, you know, for agricultural produce. You know, we depended on Kenyan tea from Kericho, you know. Then right now it's the opposite. You know, right now Kenya is actually importing so many things from Uganda.
Yes.
And that shows you where we go wrong, because Kenya has lost its sense of farming. And farming, agriculture was one of the biggest economy earners for this country. Yeah. People have stopped farming. People have land, but we are not farming anymore. We just want to put up petrol stations and malls. Yeah. But in those malls, we want to sell produce.
Then where do you expect to get that produce from?
And then, so when a government comes with initiatives such as now importing, now we start pointing the finger at the government, and you're like, what is wrong? What are you doing? You know. Yet, you know, it's a different thing if we tell the government we want to farm.
Yeah.
So please create an environment that allows us to farm, which means if it's taxes, if you need to lower taxes on seeds, if you need to lower taxes on fertilization, if you need to lower taxes if you need to give us good roads so that we're able to get this produce to markets, if you're able to bring down market levies, create a conducive environment for us to farm.
Yeah.
They'll do it. But now we're making them now run away to look for short-term solutions.
Yes. And this is something for the international organizations, governments, all of you.
All of us.
There is coming a time
Yeah.
when we won't be sitting at the table for you to tell us what you want us to do. We will be sitting at the table and we will be telling you what we want to do.
Yeah.
And it will be your choice to either work with us or watch us do it ourselves. Because for far too long, we've had so much taken away from ourselves. We are left in confusion, then we're told to solve the problem. You don't come create a problem and then tell us to solve the problem that you created.
No?
You let us solve our own problems ourselves.
Yeah. We know our problems.
And that time is coming.
It's coming soon.
That time is coming.
Right now there's a radical movement, you know.
Yeah.
Especially mental. Yeah. Especially mental. It's coming. That time is coming. Yeah. But again, that goes back to what I was telling you about. We need to understand our roots. We need to understand that what I say is, I'm not trying to say that we should not look at the future of technology. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we need to understand where we were and how we can use this technology that we have to try and enhance what we had.
Yeah.
Because when you tell people, I'm not telling you to stop what you're doing so that you go to farm. No, I'm telling you, you can still be farming as you're doing what you're doing.
Make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Make it happen.
I'm educating people about, the soil. I'm now learning about soil and things like permaculture, which is, enhancing soil productivity, soil genetics, so that it gives you productive yield.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun.
Unajibamba.
Ambaya.
When we look at our relationship with food, many a times we look at it purely from the physical aspect.
Yes.
You've mentioned mental health issues.
Mental health.
Is there a correlation between the food that we eat and our mental health, or the way in which we perceive ourselves, or the way in which we carry ourselves?
There is. You are what you eat. It's very basic like that. You are what you eat. And so when we eat food that are enriching, uplifting, because our bodies are made of cells, we can't run away from it. So if I'm consuming food that is enabling my cells to be enriched, to reproduce better, then my experience as a human becomes better. I constantly have energy. If I'm eating food that is not heavy on my digestive system, then that means my absorption is better. My body is able to convert this food into energy, and I'm able to, to move. But then when I'm eating foods that are heavy on my digestive system, the absorption is little to less. My toxic waste is more. Then there's a problem. And when we are not moving, when we are diseased, that already shows we're not at homeostatic balance, and that has a mental. That's where the mental toll comes in. We are living in a very transactional world right now, and a lot of people have substituted a lot of things. So the people substitute that money or output equates peace, or it equates balance, but that's really not the case. Is if you're able to eat well, so that you're able to do things, so that you're just able to locomote, so that you're just able to, your body processes are perfect, then for me I've never seen, I don't think I'll ever see a case of someone who's body healthy and they have mental, unless there's a problem. Because holistic health and wellness is about the balance of the body, the soul, and the mind. And I feel like when people get back into the basics of understanding, when you get back to going to understand foods, then that knowledge greatly takes us to now places where we can also enhance our spiritual experiences, we can enhance our minds. We understand the importance of taking care of ourselves wholesomely, and not just one directional.
Being out in nature as we are, nature's clock is an art, a skill that we've lost over time. the circadian rhythm is something that we've forgotten.
We've forgotten, totally.
And yet, interestingly, when you look into it, the circadian rhythm in itself is so correlated to our own digestion and productivity as human beings. From the time at which digestion of the food that we took started to the time that it ends, nature has shown us the windows that we should be eating. And these are some of the habits that we are trying to put out there that we can be able to pick up. If you could touch on it, and in relation to the journey that you took inwardly for yourself, how did you, immersing yourself in nature, cultivate the Lukyamuzi that I now see before me?
Wow. First of all, understanding nature is a very, because nature morphs very differently, so understanding it. But like you said, nature has laws, and nature does not go against its own laws. When in most of my spiritual journey, I was really planting a lot of stuff. Especially, I kind of like had a small home garden. I was planting like kale. I remember I had bay leaves. I remember I had spring onions. I remember I had sunflower seeds. And during that process, and just understanding seeing how seeds grow, and how seeds have to be watered, and how it took me a while to understand, okay, there's actually such a thing as too much sunlight. I was like, but it's sunlight. What is wrong with this plant? Are you not supposed to be out in the sun? And so understanding those very basics, and then so it made me also start understanding about my body. I'm like, so if plants are able to struggle with stuff, if also plants have a too much frequency or too little, then that means even me as a human, there's too much or too little. So I need to give it just right, And so nature has helped me greatly, when I understood basics of nature, understanding, the moon has 30 days. Then it comes again. You're like, wow, okay, there's a comet. The comet takes this time. Oh, so the moon has phases. Okay. The same way women have a cycle. Okay. The same way even men have a cycle. I don't know, people refuse to accept that men have a cycle.
True. Yeah.
And understanding those things, I'm like, okay. So nature just clearly shows us how even us, we are subjected to the laws of it. That's how we're able to survive. And when we go against it, our bodies show us quickly that you're going against the laws of nature. But the problem is we've also lost the art of listening to our bodies to be able to understand, I'm having a headache because I'm not drinking enough water. I'm having a headache because I just have too much potassium in my body. I'm having a headache because I'm not sleeping enough. So my body is constantly showing me there's a problem. It's like when you're driving or when you're using a machine and a machine is already showing you an emergency. We don't overlook it. We don't say, hey, wachana na hiyo. When once you see an emergency blink, you're like, hey, what is it? What is it? And you want to solve the problem.
Yes.
But as humans, we don't do that. The body shows us emergency, we run away. But now in my journey, I took time to understand, so that emergency means this. When I have a headache, when I've hydrated properly, I don't have a headache. Okay. When I've eaten too much carbohydrates, I'm bloating. I'm like, okay. When I've eaten too much roughage, then even my waist becomes different because my body is telling me, okay, you ate the roughage, sour, but you ate too much now. It's supposed to be just enough. So it has greatly enhanced my experience in understanding who I am and in understanding to where I'm going now. Because now I understand, I'm like, okay, routine is important, Plants show us routine, Plants are not there shedding leaves when they're not supposed to. You would just find a jacaranda shedding leaves randomly. It has to be its season to shed. And so even understanding, I'm like, okay, so plants have a routine. And also, so even me as a human, what is my routine? I need to create a routine that, and once you disrupt a plant's routine, a plant either withers and dies, you know.
Yeah.
Because and even for us is, if I disrupt my routine, then in accordance to the laws of nature, which is a law of cause and effect, you know, there has to be something, there has to be a consequence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also understanding that has been a great lesson to where we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I asked you that because over the past couple of years, conversations have been had around food, health, and nutrition.
Yes.
We have movements such as the veganism movement that has come up.
Yeah.
We have students of Dr. Sebi. We have students of Dr. Laila Africa. We have very many teachers who've come forth and shared their wisdom and impacted lives. And living in the age of information, there's been an overload of information to some extent.
Wow.
Because then you do not know who is saying what and who is saying what and what do they mean in this context, because the contexts are different.
Very different.
That then leading us to take up labels. Is that something that you associate yourself with? Or do you chart that path having no option, having no good or bad against it, but just learning what you need to learn and moving through the sphere of information?
I mean, I was taught one thing. I was told knowledge is power. Only when you use it. If you don't use it, then it just remains stagnant energy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, even with movements such as the veganism movement and people like Dr. Sebi, we've always had prophets who came before us.
Yeah.
Right? And the prophets before us subscribed to a certain message that they were sending. Right? And there's the prophets living within us and among us. And then there's the prophets to come.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a very, very, very strong proponent of having your own opinion. It's good to have someone else's perspective, but it's always important to have your own opinion. And your own opinion always comes when you have an extensive knowledge and foundation of information.
Yeah.
You know, so even when it comes to veganism, I had to research and read about it. And I'm like, okay, so these are the things I agree. These are the concepts I agree. This, I have my own reservations with them.
Yep.
But this, even me, I can recommend them to someone because I've tried them. I've tried and tested and they've worked on me, you know. And so this one I can gladly. This one I have my own reservations, but I'll still tell the person so that in case they want, I give them a choice, right? Always give somebody the choice.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be one-sided. I should always give you your freedom to choose.
Yes.
I give you the information, then I tell you, now Gashu, you what you'll decide.
It's upon you.
It is upon you.
Yeah.
Don't come to me and tell me, you gave me half the plate, not the full plate. So I give you the full plate, I tell you, this is the food. You decide whether you'll eat it or not.
Yeah.
So the important thing, again, like you asked it, the important thing is know everything extensively. Don't just pick things. Don't just pick superficially and say, when you hear something, when you read about something, when you get more research. Pick a book, read it, ask questions, you know, like the way you're asking, you know. If I can't get a concept, I ask you, hey, Gashu, I've been reading about this thing, and this is what I think. What do you think?
Yeah.
Have varied perspectives so that you can develop an opinion.
And I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all.
Nope.
I personally, Dr. Sebi was the first teacher I came to interact with when it comes to the power of Mother Nature
Yeah.
and the plants
And the plants.
that we find in nature. But for the longest time, I wasn't able to intersect the information that he was sharing and applying it in my present day reality. Because a lot of the herbs that he talks about are found in Honduras or in the Caribbean. And those aren't necessarily the plants and herbs that I have here. And the modality that he was teaching was geared towards helping people heal themselves. And so you also have to look at it from that perspective, where he's giving you information with the primary purpose of helping you heal yourself. Now from that, as you interact with it as an individual, you're then picking what you can apply in your own life.
Exactly.
You don't necessarily have to wait until you're sick for you to start practicing some of the things that the teachers say. And that then led to the journey of asking myself, it can't be that the only teachers I meet with are on a screen. What is going on back home? And that's when you start to tap into it and you realize that each and every community
has a teacher.
There are custodians, there are elders
of information
who have this information and they are waiting to share it with the younger generation. Because like you said, it has to be passed on.
It has to.
Through apprenticeship.
My biggest goal this year, is to try and link up with as many communities as I can so that I can meet with elders who have information about herbs.
Yes, sir.
Then I document it and write a book.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's sir. Like, because I asked the universe for a mode of transport and I have a bike.
What better means of transport?
That's the whole concept. Because for me, I think the most important thing, if I may take you back, is even when Dr. Sebi talks about, and you said how these plants are indigenously Honduran, But now for me as a scientist, I'm looking, I'm like, wait. What is that plant's name? Because I understand the science. And remember, it's very basic biology. Remember when we were doing, it was called what? Classification. It's classification. This plant is called what? This is its family name. Okay, this is its, if I know its family name, if I know its species, if I know its phylum. So which plant in Africa is the same name?
Yes.
I'm like, then this plant is called like this in Honduras, but then in Africa that means this is its name. Because the crazy thing is herbs like bardocroot, So bardocroot is the name that we know, it's given name.
The English name.
But here in Africa, I went to Kambani and found bardocroot, but it had a Kamba name.
Yes.
And when we went, in fact, I remember when we went back to the lab at Cambry and we were even like, okay.
Kumbe ndo ile bardocroot wanasemanga.
Because as we were talking about bardocroot, we were just like, now we have to import these things. Wow. Well, now we're even thinking about scientists who are like, okay, so how can we import it? And then now how can we recreate it? So that it becomes indigenously now here, so that it grows here. Until we realize,
Eco.
Things like the African wild sage. African wild sage, when you go to Ngong, it is abundant. It's in the bush. It's growing by itself. But there, it's called leleshwa. And I was like, these things are just there.
They are just there.
So we just need. So that's my aim now, is to go into these communities and speak to these old people who have this knowledge, so that they may share. So that we can even write a book and create a database, so it will be easier for these other generations, or even us, even us right now, so we can look at it's there, but it's just we need to know the name. Because then, like they say, whoever owns the information has the power. So let's take it back. Because right now the power is with them. So all we can do is sometimes beg, but time for begging is gone. Time for begging is gone. We've begged, do this. Now let's do it. let them come and collaborate because they have no choice.
Yes, exactly.
They have no. They are like,
Exactly. These guys are doing it without us.
They are like, hey, even as we want to.
They will beat us because we are not beating them. We have already beaten them.
Now let's collaborate with them because that's
And you know, that's this journey that we have chosen to take is a responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility. Yeah.
You know, to be the medium through which this information can be passed on from the current custodians who are our elders and pass it on to the next custodians, you know, who will be our children to come. Because that necessity is there to try and bridge the damage that was done when they tried to take away our languages and our culture. You see, at first when you hear other people talk about them and give them the names that they are familiar with, our first thought is that they are only found there. Ziko Caribbean, ziko South America, but haziko Africa, haziko East Africa, haziko nyumbani. And yet,
they're here.
Mother Nature has blessed us so much with everything that we need around us.
Mother Nature has blessed us
in abundance.
Equally.
In abundance.
Equally.
Amwezi maliza.
Amwezi.
As a matter of fact, mkishindana kupigania anawacheka.
You can't finish it.
Yeah.
It's just now people are greedy, but you really can't finish it.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. Is gone are those times where we're going to cry about colonization all the time.
True.
The only way that we're going to change this is when we move on from it.
Yep.
If you're constantly saying, this thing is because the white man, let's change the narrative. Let's change the story. It's time we rewrite the story and say, okay, that's what the white man did. It's fine. He did it. That era is gone. What do we do now?
Yes.
Yes, he came and took away our tribes. He came and did this. Yes, no problem. How can we regenerate those tribes now?
We are now here.
We are here.
We are still here.
We are still here. We are not here. So if we were known as this, why can't we start it again?
Yep.
If it's about our languages, why don't we raise the awareness of us speaking these languages?
Yes.
You know, why are we not raising awareness of us reading this literature? Why are we not aware of us speaking about our history? That's the only way that we'll get from that trauma.
Yeah. And we have to take back that power.
Yeah.
We have to take back that power because it's like
you have to take it. Yeah.
People may think that all we do is complain, which is not what we do.
Yeah.
We didn't choose to complain. We may have been complaining, and we take responsibility of that. But now that we are aware of our shortcomings, we are now taking back our own power.
Acknowledging that, okay, we were complaining, but enough is enough.
Yeah. And giving it.
And that's the best. The best way is when we teach each other about all that we know. When you teach them about, when someone tells you, hey, but you have really healthy skin, which oil do you use? And you're like, me, don't use oil. Me, naoga too, and you know. Yeah.
That's the beauty industry, just jumping off of what you've said, has been one of the mediums that have highlighted the abundance that we find in nature and that shift in movement to natural-based products. One of the highlights, I would say, of some of these products is the change in laws that we've seen around cannabis.
For it being declassified.
For it by some of those countries that we know where those laws came from. And we happen to carry those same laws. And now there has been a shift. You know, now the system is acknowledging the power of plants to the point that they are decriminalizing laws and legalizing them. There seems to be this shift in consciousness within society that is moving in a positive direction. Do you think that Africa is sleeping on a potential that ideally started off on this soil?
And it all goes back to leadership, because if our leaders are also well informed, then they will make a point of creating policies that create an environment where plants can be used to their effectiveness, But if our leaders are not well informed, then they will also make uninformed decisions.
Yeah.
And that's why we'll continue suffering. The cannabis right now, cannabis medicine has become big. Like the way you're saying, California has legalized cannabis pharmacy. Netherlands legalized it a while back. We have countries like Malawi who have legalized, cannabis. They have policies that actually make it possible to use cannabis as medication. It's a start, Me, first of all, I'm just happy that it's actually a start.
Yep.
It's a step in the right direction, but we still need to give the push. But one of my holdbacks in all this is information. This information has to be understood properly. Because we don't want a case where now cannabis has been legalized, but it can't be regulated. We also don't want that.
Yeah.
Because then that would mean cannabis will be readily accessible, but without regulation, then we'll have a reverse. Instead of us getting the component that is healing from it, and we'll have addictions again.
Yeah.
So that's why that information is important. Governments need to sit and ask, sit down with stakeholders and ask, okay, so this, how do we regulate it? If we are to generate a cannabis pharmacy industry, what are the steps we need to take?
Yeah.
How do we regulate it so that 15-year-olds don't have this product? What are the mechanisms you're going to make so that we are able to limit, so that we know that only these people can use these ones, because even like in states like California, you need to have a special cannabis license to be able to access, because control again is very important. Yeah.
One of the arguments that have been made against such plants is that they have been used recreationally, and that use has been turned into abuse. And that's where the fear would come in for many, as you said, not being able to regulate it.
Yeah.
At the same time, we have evidence out there, and most recently in Kenya, the fifth, the fifth Wajakoya was bold enough to say 1, 2, 3 are some of the benefits you can derive from cannabis, aside from that one species of cannabis that is popular world over. Having interacted with KEMRI, having done that research that is necessary when looking and studying plants, what properties could you say have been identified, and how have they been used medically to help ail people who are suffering from several diseases that, such as cancer, for example, that has been documented so far as helping?
Hey man, I mean, first of all, you need to people need to understand, the cannabis plant in itself. The cannabis plant. So you have THC high cannabis in the cannabis plant. So you have strains that are THC high, and then you have strains that are CBD high. And THC is the psychoactive element of cannabis. Actually, it's THCA when it's not burned. When now you burn it, that means you isolate the binding factor. If you remember basic chemistry.
Yeah.
Once that it's now your
Activating
brain,
that chemical
exactly, now your
property.
brain can absorb it.
Yeah.
And so that's the psychoactive element. But then cannabis in itself has CBD, which stands for cannabinoids.
Yep.
Which are the components that are derived from the plant. We call them phytocannabinoids, cannabinoids that are from plants. And so your body has something called the endocannabinoid system. Endo meaning inside, you know, and it's this particular system that these cannabinoids go to. You know, so you have endocannabinoids all around your body, your head, your full body, and so when we can do a whole class on cannabis, but in the very basic aspect is it's this cannabinoids that go and bind with this endocannabinoid system and create homeostasis, you know. So in cases where, you know, like with cell regeneration, you know, cannabis has terpenes, you know, which are also elements that are derived from it. We can go into, there's so many. We'll have to do like a whole class. Yeah. But it's these components that we've been able to know that we can derive, and it's that specific thing that you need in your body for like cell regeneration, or it's that specific thing that you need to activate the mucus that is in the digestion in your body. For people who, let's say, are struggling with appetite, you know. So I needed to understand the science of the cannabis plant, so that I would know, okay, so this is what I can derive, this is what, and it took a while. It's taken me like about 5 years to be able to understand all this properly. And also, so that's why, and it goes back to what I'm telling you. If this information if the government understands this information, then you see it's very ready. It's very easy to now go into a direction where, okay, now we should legalize it, or now we should legalize medicinal use of cannabis. You know, because it's being used. There's evidence. You know, there's peer review papers from other doctors using it. There's already evidence in the scientific world right now. It's no longer a myth. Because it used to be a myth. It used to be, we hear. Now it's we know. This is the evidence. This particular patient was having from this. They used it. These are the results. This one was, you know. Now we have data. So it's just important that government agencies or government is able to get this data as well, so that they may be able to, you know, read the information and now figure out directions.
As we bring the show to an end. You know, all good things must have an end.
For today.
No, this one.
For this
one. Formally. When you hear the phrase "miti ni dawa," what just came to mind?
Miti ni dawa. For me, when I just hear miti ni dawa, first the thing that comes to mind is peace. Peace, you know. Peace is very important. Peace is very important, because when you are suffering from something, you're not at peace. When you're having digestive problems, you're not at peace. You can't you know, conduct your work, you know, with the relaxation like other people. You know? So when I hear miti ni dawa, it's peace. But then on the other side of it, it's also power. It's how powerful, you know, plants are. Because medicine, just the phrase medicine, is powerful. You know, anything that alters your body is powerful. And that's what medicine does. Anything that alters your body, if it accelerates a process or if it decelerates a process, if it's able to change something, it does power.
Amazing. Amazing. Kaka Braza.
I am so happy.
Thank you so much for honoring the invitation.
Anytime.
And for coming.
Man, you guys have been family for a while. You guys are still family. You know.
Na bado tunasonga.
And I'm just happy that we're in this industry. I'm happy that it's young people in this industry who are doing this, because even I've been in spaces, you know, in the conventional medicine world where people are always complaining. The older generation are always complaining that you young people are not doing. You young people. So I'm happy that we are leading by example.
You
know. And if I may add, it's not an easy journey as the way, because there's a lot of stereotyping, there's a lot of disbelief, there's a lot of questioning, there's a lot of doubts that you really have to face within this industry, because it's an industry for credentials. And, you know, if you don't look like your credentials, so there's a specific, people have actually, it's like a doctor should look like this.
Yes.
A lawyer should look like this.
Yes.
So when you don't conform to such, they're like, are you sure you know what you are doing?
It is a problem.
Are you sure? Then now when you do it, you know, and so resilience is a very important thing. And going back to the foundation, you need to go through the whole process.
Yeah. As you've pointed out, we do not look like what we do or what we studied. At this moment, it is a doctor and a lawyer discussing about
alternative
plants, herbs, and medicines. You know,
imagine.
I don't even call it alternative because it's not an option. No, it is indigenous.
Let me tell you why.
It is innate.
Let me tell you why I always call it alternative. Because, you see, like you said, it's not an alternative, right?
Yeah.
But to them, we are alternative.
Umeguza mahali.
To them, we are alternative. To us, we are not alternative. To them, we are alternative medicine.
You have touched a market. You have touched a market.
So they're like, oh, so you're an alternative medicine practitioner.
You carry the title proudly.
So you're like, so in a nutshell, they've classified you with herbalists. Which I'm like, yes, man, I'm there.
Because you know what the herbalists know.
I know. Hey, bro, what the herbalists know. That's why they're always hiding there by themselves. True herbalists rarely advertise what they do.
True.
Because for them, they're constantly looking at, they're constantly trying to get new ways. They're constantly trying to understand nature. They don't have time to, when you see posters of, I don't know who, Daktari or Miti Shamba, where that's not a true. True herbalists are referred.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the snippet.
Chema chajuza.
It's you just, hey, you have a thing, may know someone. That is how you find a true herbalist.
Word of mouth is powerful.
Yes.
Referral. By word of mouth.
I know someone.
I know some. Who do you know?
Who do you know?
Me, I can refer some. Who do you know?
I know someone.
Kaka Braza. Shukran tena.
Anytime, bro.
For coming to the show, Baba.
Invite me again and again.
No, you know this is only the beginning.
It's that one.
It's
only the beginning.
It's only. More works to come.
Yeah, more works to come.
But kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this show to an end, the one takeaway that I would offer is the idea of being a traditionalist, being viewed as being backwards, is a notion that we cannot try to demystify because it was never hidden in the first place. It's only an option that we have, but it's upon you and I to choose for ourselves. Asanteni sana kwa kuwachisho ya leo. As my brother here was saying, we, and I refer to super producer behind the lens. Mwenye anachapa hizi mawax, 1, 2, 1, 2. Founder of Kizazi Africa. My bredren. Kaka Nabiswa Wanyama. Kaka bro, give thanks kwa mawax kama kawa. More to come hivyo, teke very fast. Tunasema shukran, see you in the next one. Give thanks.